Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 8 of my C# video tutorial, and it is pop quiz time. What I want you to do in this tutorial is to create 2 warrior objects and to have them fight to the death. Quite simple. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ease you through the process, and I'm going to walk you through the steps of how we solve problems in general. And I did this once many months ago, and a lot of people enjoyed this tutorial, so I think everybody will enjoy it. And like always, all the code as well as a transcript of this video is available in the description underneath the video, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Alright, so this is what I want you to make. I want you to create 2 objects, 2 warrior objects as I said, and this is going to be the output. We're going to give them a name and they are going to fight to the death. They're going to have a name, obviously. They're going to have a health value. They're going to have a maximum attack value and a maximum block value. And basically what you're going to do is just have them fight to the death until one of the characters no longer has any health, and then they die. And then you're going to put this message on the screen right there. And then game over after that. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to have 3 different files, 3 different class files. I'm going to have the main program.cs file. I'm also going to have a warrior.cs file and a battle.cs file. And I'm actually going to complete the main program part of this to show you exactly what it should look like. So what you should be able to do is to come into main and go warrior, and then we'll say something like Maximus is equal to new warrior, and then pass in a name, followed by a maximum amount of health, followed by a maximum attack value, and then a maximum block value. Then likewise, it's giving me errors because I spelled warrior wrong. There we are. So let's spell warrior the correct way. And what we're also going to do then after that is to create another warrior. And I'm going to call this warrior Bob. And I'm going to change the name here as well. And I'm going to leave their statistics be exactly the same. And then to initiate the fight, all you're going to do is use another class called battle. And then you're going to call start fight. And you're going to pass in the 2 warrior objects you want to fight, and it's going to figure out everything for you. So real nice and neat. This is the way code should look. And that is all you're going to do inside a program.cs. This is the whole entire thing. So now what I'm going to do is jump over into the other 2 classes and walk you through the thinking process of how to solve this problem. Alright, so here we are in the warrior class file. Now what are we going to do? Basically we are going to need some different pieces of information inside of here. We're going to have a name, we're going to have health, we're going to have an attack maximum, and we're going to have a block maximum. So those are going to be some things that we're going to want inside of here. We're of course also going to have a constructor that's going to initialize all these and create these objects for us. We're going to want some randomization inside here. So we're going to need an ability to generate random numbers because we want the attacks and the blocks to be randomized. And then we have to think about what are going to be our warrior's capabilities. And whenever I say that, I'm talking about methods, of course. And basically, we are going to have a capability of attacking, and also we're going to have a capability of blocking. Likewise, it's more specifically in regards to attack, you're going to want to generate a random attack value from 1 to the maximum possible attack, and that's what this function is going to do. And then you're basically going to do exactly the same thing for block. So let's just paste that inside of there and generate a random block value from 1 to the maximum block. And that is it. That is all we're going to do with our warriors. Our warriors are going to have a health attack maximum. They're going to have a name, obviously. They're going to have an attack maximum, and they're going to have a block maximum. And they're going to be able to attack and block. All right? And that looks like a really nice class. Now you could go pause the video and try to figure out what that's going to look like. Or otherwise, I'm going to jump over into the battle class and create all that. So what are we going to do in our battle class? Well, basically, we're going to need an ability to start a fight. So you already saw that I called a function called start fight. And what's it going to receive? It's going to receive a warrior 1 and a warrior 2 for attributes. or parameters that are passed into this function to be able to use it. And then what we need to do is we need to loop over and over again. So we're going to loop giving each warrior a chance to attack and block each turn until one dies. All right, so that's what we're going to do inside of our start fight function. Then, just to keep our code real nice and neat, what I'm also going to do is create another function inside here, and I'm going to call this get attack result. And what it's going to do is it's going to receive a warrior once again. So I'm just going to call this warrior A because it's going to receive warrior 1 sometimes in this position and sometimes warrior 2. So I'm going to call it warrior B and A. And then from that, what it's going to do is perform some calculations. So some calculations we're going to do. We're going to calculate one warrior's attack and the other's block. And those are going to be random values, of course. We are then going to come in and subtract block from attack. Then we're going to come in and say if there was damage, subtract that damage from the health of the other one. We are then going to just provide some information like you saw previously. I showed you what the sample output was going to look like. So I'm going to do something like print out info on who attacked who and for how much damage. And then with the next line of code, we're going to come in and provide output on the change in health. And you already saw that sample output again. And then what we need to do is go and check if the warrior's health fell below 0. And if so, print a message and then send a response that will end the loop. And by loop, I mean this guy right here. It's going to be up here, right there. Loop, giving each warrior a chance to attack and block each turn until one dies. So that's the thinking process behind this whole entire thing. And actually, it is the entire program. That is all you need to know how to do. And you can pause your screen and go and try to write it yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to jump over in the warrior and start making it work. All right, so I said that I want to come in here and I need to define a name, health, attack maximum, and block maximum. So I'm going to come in and define some properties. So I'm going to define a string and it is going to be called name. And don't worry if you can't get this or anything, don't give up. It's just, a little thing I'm throwing in here just to have a little bit more fun. So we're going to say that we want the default name to be warrior. I'm also going to come in and create a double, and it is going to have a health, or it's going to be called health. And I'm just going to have it automatically generate getters and setters once again, give this the default value of 0. Going to do the same exact thing for the attack maximums. So I'm going to say double attack max. Once again, generate getters and setters. Give it a default value of 0 once again. And then we're going to do the same exact thing for our blocking maximum. So I'm going to call this block max. Again, getters, setters, and default value of 0. So there we go. So those are the attributes we're going to need. Now another thing is we need to randomize all of this stuff. So that means we need to be able to generate random numbers. Now anytime you're going to be generating a random number, you want to make sure that you create a single random instance and then reuse it over and over and over again. If you do not, you're going to find that you get the same random number many times in a row. Just a warning out there. And that's very important to know. So we're going to create a random instance here, and we're going to use it over and over again. So we'll just go new and random like that, and there we go. So we covered that previously. And now we get into our attack method. Well, first off, we want to come in here and create our constructor for this to initialize everything. So that's just going to be public warrior, and it's going to receive a string for name. And I'm just going to put warrior inside of here again. What else are we going to do? Well, we're going to do a health amount is going to be passed in inside, and I'll give that a default value of 0. Also, we're going to get the attack maximum, give that a default value of 0, and then the block maximum, and give that a value of 0 as well. come in here, create that, and then we're just going to go name is equal to the name, and the health is going to be equal to whatever the health was that they passed inside of here, and the attack maximum is going to be the attack maximum, obviously, and then the block max is going to be equal to the block max. And there we are. So now we have a constructor to create that. And now we can come down inside of here and create our attack program or attack method. Pretty simple. We're going to go public. It's going to return a double. The name of the function is going to be attack. And then what this is going to do is just return a random value between 1 and the maximum attack value. How you do that is random and next. Pass in the maximum, or pass in 1, and then you're going to have to convert the double into an integer, and then you're going to go attack max, and there that is. Done. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing for the block amount, and then we're done with a warrior. So pretty cool stuff. Now I think you're starting to get the idea why object-oriented programming is so awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to change this to block max, and that's it. We're done with warrior. Now we need to jump over into the battle CS file and create that class. All right, so inside of the battle file, what we're going to do, or the battle class, what we need to do here is to define the start fight, and that's going to loop forever, and the get attack result methods. Now, this is pretty much a utility class. And the reason why I know that is because battle is sort of like an occurrence. A thing that happens. It's not really a real world object, which makes me think that this is a utility class. And what does that mean? That means that most of the methods, or all the methods inside of it, should be static methods. So we're going to come in and we're going to do it that way. So we're going to go public and static and void and start fight. And what's this do? Well, it receives both of our warriors. So I'm going to go warrior, and I'm going to call this warrior 1. And then it's going to get the other warrior, and that is going to be called warrior 2. Now inside of here, what I say I need to do? I need to loop, giving each warrior a chance to attack and block each turn until one dies. So how am I going to do that? Well, I do not know when the loop is going to end. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just create a while loop that is going to loop forever, and then I'm going to put a condition inside of here that's going to throw me out of the while loop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if get attack result, whenever I pass warrior 1 and warrior 2 inside of there, if the response from that is equal to, I'm going to say game over, because I think that is a great way to be able to really understand what's going on with the code. So I'm going to say if that returns the value of game over. Well, in that situation, I'm going to come in and go and print game over, because that's what it told me. And then I'm going to break out of my loop. Okay, so now you can see exactly how we're going to jump out of the while loop. Likewise, I'm going to come in here and cover a situation in which the opposite results occur, where warrior 2 and then warrior 1 come inside of there, because I have to have them both attack each other. So I'm going to change this to 2 and then change this to 1, and I can leave everything else exactly the same. Don't need to change anything. So that just leaves me with get attack result. What do I need to do with that? Well, we already covered this loop, so that's gone. Let's get rid of that. And now we get to get attack result. And it's going to receive warrior A and B. Why did we label them A and B? We labeled them that way because sometimes it's going to get warrior 2 and warrior 1. I don't like naming them the same things because that might cause confusion in the code. So I'm going to name them warrior A and B instead. So I'm going to go public and static and string, because it's going to be returning game over, remember? And I'm going to say get attack result. And of course, it's going to be receiving a warrior that I'm going to call warrior A, and another warrior, which I'm going to be calling warrior B. Then what's going on inside of here? Well, I need to calculate one warrior's attack and the other one's block. So I'm going to go double. I'll go warrior A attack amount is going to be equal to, and I can just go warrior A and call for the attack, and that's going to give me a randomized attack. And then likewise, I can go and call warrior B. So I'm going to go warrior B block amount is going to be equal to warrior B. and called block to get a random block amount. All right, so we have those generated. What do I need to do then? Let's go and get rid of this. I need to come in and subtract block from attack. So I'm going to create another variable here, and I'm going to call this damage to warrior B, and that's going to be equal to warrior attack amount minus whatever the warrior block amount is. All right, so we got that set up. And what are we going to do? We're going to get rid of that. If there was damage, subtract that from the health. So it says if there was damage, that means there's a chance that it wasn't, or there was no damage. So I'm going to say if damage to warrior B is greater than 0, well then I'm going to do something. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say warrior B, and get the health amount there is going to be equal to warrior B health minus the damage to warrior B. So that's gone. Else, if there was no damage, I'm going to come in and say else, or it could be a negative damage. I'm going to say damage to warrior B is equal to 0. And that way we won't have a situation where the warriors are attacking each other and the actual health of the warriors going up because the block amount just so happened to be greater than the attack amount. Okay, so that's why that's in there. And we can get rid of all this. And then we can say print out info on who attacked who and for how much damage. So we'll just come in and we'll say console, right line, and I'm going to come in and go whatever the warrior is, attacks, whatever the other warrior is, and deals whatever the total damage was. And then let's go and get these. So this is going to be warrior A, name, and then warrior B, name, and then the total damage that was done. So damage to warrior B. And there that is. So we got that. Then we need to provide output on the change in the health of our warriors. So come in again, and I'll say whatever the warrior is, has, and then we'll output information on their health. And then I'd also like to throw a new line in there just to divide up what's going on our screen. And check if the warrior's health fell below 0, and if so, print a message, and then send a response that will end our loop that we have also in this class. So I'm going to say, if warrior B health is less than or equal to 0, well, that means he's dead. Well, in that situation, I need to print out some information on our screen, and that information is going to be whatever the warrior is, has died, and 1, that's the other warrior, is victorious. And throw another new line to divide that up. And then I have to go and get the warriors. So I'm going to say warrior B and name like that. And then warrior A and name like that. And now we know that a warrior is dead, so I'm going to say return game over. And likewise, I could basically put anything down here. Whoops, make sure you put the semicolon in the right place. I need to return something. So in the other situation, well, I'm going to make this an else. Else, return, and I could throw anything in here other than game over, but I'm just going to say fight again. And there we go. So hopefully you got something like that, and we can run our program here and make sure that I did everything right. And here we can see we're starting off our little fight, and Maximus attacks Bob and deals 0 damage, blah, 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 has 1 health. Whoops, I messed that up. So let's go ahead and figure out what I did wrong. Well, that was silly of me. I just forgot to put these inside of here. So I'm going to go warrior B, and then name, and then I'm going to do the same thing for warrior A and name. And now we can run it again to see if I messed up anything else. Nope, looks pretty good. So here we go inside of here. Maximus attacks Bob and deals 45 damage. Bob has Maximus health. Whoops, messed something else up. Should have changed that to B. What am I doing here? Making mistakes. I just did that just so that if you didn't get this answer right, that you wouldn't feel bad. Alright, so now we run it again, and now we can see our attacks. Maximus attacks Bob and deals 22 damage. Bob has 978 health. Then Bob attacks Maximus and deals 32 damage. Maximus has 968 health. And it continues on and on. You can see the random attacks, the random block values, and it continues until we get down here where Maximus has died and Bob is victorious. So good for Bob and good for you if you got that right. If you didn't get that right, that's perfectly okay. The whole goal of this whole entire video is just to make you think in different ways and try to use the skills that you've been learning about in all of the previous tutorials. So like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.